Hello, hi. Once again, welcome back to the video. Here in this particular video, we are going to discuss about SCA and SBOM. What makes the difference? SCA versus SBOM. First, we will be discussing about SCA, later SBOM, later like side-by-side comparison about that. And by taking one real-world example, we will be discussing why exactly both are required. Both their essential as well as purpose might be different. Okay, so that is the reason we are going to discuss in this particular video. So we already covered a dedicated videos regarding what exactly the SCA and what exactly the SBOM was. If you are not watched that videos, please don't worry. I will just go through the presentation and quickly explain what exactly the SCA and what exactly the SBOM. Let me go through that. First of all, SCA. SCA stands for Software Composition Analysis. A software composition analysis identifies and manages the open source components as well as third-party libraries and dependencies in your application, software application. Okay, that will help to detect the security vulnerabilities and the third-party the security risks associated in the third-party components and the license information. Like it will ensure the license of the open source like all compliant like that. Okay, and the compliance details also, like whether is it meeting the regulatory standards. As per the standard regulatory bodies or not, and some best practices that will be suggested by the SCA. Okay, and here are some data fields in the SCA report that will basically give component name, associated version, license type, vulnerabilities, and dependency path and remediation. Remediation was the important. This was the like examples you can see: component version, license, and remediation in the sense what exactly need to be performed, remediation action. And here is the like a quick flow how to generate a SBOM report. First of all, we need to choose a SBOM tool like any of the open source or paid one. Later, we need to scan the code base along with the artifacts. Okay, build artifacts here was main code base was not required. We need to take a build artifacts or wherever the dependencies are mentioned that file. Okay, and then it will help to detect the vulnerabilities as well as the license issues. The tool will help, and then there is an option to generate a like dedicated format like XML, JSON, or PDF, and then we need to track the progress and remediate and further scan. That is the like how we are going to generate a SCA reports. And these are the benefits we are going to achieve with the help of SCA, which was we can improve the security and we can reduce the vulnerabilities in the software. And coming to the license, it will become license compliant, and it will be legal safety to use that component for the organization. And there is a transparency, that means better visibility of all the dependencies and third-party code. There will be a continuous monitoring for a few risks and emerging threats. So this is all about SCA. Now let us quickly walk through the SBOM. Okay, what exactly the SBOM was? Software bill of materials. Okay, so SBOM is a detailed inventory of all the software components, libraries, and dependencies in the application. It will basically enables software supply chain transparency, and it will strengthen the security posture also. And typically the format, the standard formats was the SPDX and the Cyclone DX. These are the industry standard formats, and the functions. It functions as an ingredients list of software. It will shows exactly what is inside that software. Okay, so the SBOM reveals exactly what is inside the software, and it will enables to secure and transparent management. It will helps for that. Okay, and these are the some data fields as per the certain standard regulatory body. Supplier name, component name, version, and unique identifiers, dependency relationship between the components, and what is the license information, and timestamp as well as the hash value, and who is the author. And then these are the some additional data fields in the SBOM: CVE, vulnerability, patch status, fix availability, origin, where it was originated, when it was released, when it was going to expire, end of life, and some metadata. And this is how exactly we need to generate a SBOM, how we have seen the SCA generation workflow. Likewise, here also there is a workflow. We need to choose a tool. These are the some tools, and we need to scan the like a target source code or any image like that. Okay, and then we can generate a report in the like recommended format. It is Cyclone DX here, and we need to validate the format and store the format securely, and we need to make sure to automate this process also. And also in SCA also we need to make sure to automate. And this is how we need to like maintain the SBOMs and use the SBOMs. Okay, so we can integrate the SBOM data into a vulnerability scanning and compliance workflow, and we can link with the VEX, which is the vulnerability exploitability exchange information for live tracking of status, and we can update the SBOMs after each patch and component change is that will maintain its accuracy. And we can share this SBOM inventory with the client. Okay, for transparency maintenance part. Now let us go and see what exactly the SBOM versus SCA. Okay, what exactly it describes, it talks about. Let me take a pen. Yeah, we just have seen like what exactly the SCA was. It's just a quick one-liner definition. Software composition analysis is an automated dynamic tool that continuously scans and analyzes a software application. It will helps to identify open source components and detect the vulnerabilities, and any license complaints issues are there, and malicious packages are found in the real time. Okay, so that is exactly the SBOM, sorry, SCA was. So these are the some points which was covered by the SCA. So it will helps in dynamic and continuous. I mean, it was a continuous process. That means, so active ongoing analysis will be done by the SCA. Real-time vulnerability detection will be done with the help of SCA. Continuous monitoring during the development phase itself. Proactive threat identification will be done, and vulnerability detection. That means it will helps to find the vulnerabilities. So if there is any CVEs in open source components or like proprietary components also, that will be identified, and it will also make sure to cross-reference with the NVD database. Okay, National Vulnerability Database. With that, it will cross-check, and it will detect any malware or malicious packages inside that components. And what is the previous CVSS scores and risk rating? Sorry, not your previous. It provides a CVSS score and risk rating. Based upon that, the developer will prioritize the like what exactly I need to first, like that. And it will also provide a remediation guidance. Okay, one was continuous inventory, and then vulnerability identification part. After that, third one was it will helps to remediation also. So it will suggest the fixes and updates, and it will recommend the secure component version. What is the target component version need to be need to be upgraded to the existing vulnerable components, and it provides a patch recommendations. Okay, and actionable security guidance also. So these are the some three main use cases of the SCA. And SCA works, one moment, yeah, I mean, this was the just a kind of SCA workflow. It will with the help of scanners, it will scan for the open source components, and then it will identify some. Okay, like it will cross reference with the vulnerability database it exists. Later, if identified, then it will report. That means it will flag the vulnerabilities with the dedicated CVSS scores of the vulnerability, and then it will provide a recommendation also as a step number 4. And finally, it will give you alert where this was the things like that. Okay, and also while we are making them a automated process in some CI/CD pipelines like that, we can set up a threshold. Let's say if any high CVSS score was found, obviously that have a critical or a high vulnerability. In that case, we can fail the pipeline to do not to trigger further. That means they need to fix that first, and then only it will move the pipeline will move for further release or deployment like that. So that is the like one of the main use case of this automation process. Sorry. And now a quick one-liner definition for SBOM 2. We all know like SBOM is a software bill of materials which provides a comprehensive standardized static documentation that provides a complete inventory and transparency of all the components as well as dependencies, licenses, metadata, and all, I mean, whatever used in the application. Around 21 data fields that will be provided as per the certain guidelines. Okay, so here are the some high-level pointers what exactly it was helping. So it was a static comprehensive data. That means it is like a snapshot of a software component. It will document all the components like open source as well as the proprietary components. And yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention, in the SCA, it won't identify this proprietary, that means in-house component. Only third-party components will be identified. Sorry, I think when I was explaining SCA about component tracking part, I said I think both the open source as well as in-house libraries, but no, it won't be identifies the open source components. And this will be like a static comprehensive data, right? It will be in a SPDX and Cyclone DX industry standards, and it will provide a complete transparency into the supply chain. And coming to the inventory and transparency, that means it will list all the components with the versions, and it includes the dependencies and relationships, and it shows the license information and unique package URLs also. And coming to the compliance and documentation, it will supports for regulatory compliance, and it will enable the incident response and supply chain risk assessment. I mean, it will helpful for supply risk assessments, and it will also facilitate the third-party audits also. Okay, I mean, this particular SBOM will be very much helpful, especially for the clients who are in the financial like sectors, like banking organizations. They will obviously follow certain regulatory bodies. So as per the standard regulatory bodies, it is mandatory to generate a SBOM. Okay, and these are the same SBOM use cases. Like it will provide a vulnerability responses. That means which product are affected by which existing CVE ID or vulnerability, and it will provide a license compliance. Like do we have a license violation on this software, or else it has a proper license. Okay, and if it is license violated, then the component will be flagged as a license blocked. Okay, this component is using a license which is a blocked license. And the supply chain, that means what component comes from which suppliers, and also it will provide a dependency tree also, like if there is any one component which depends on the other component. So this components is the transfer to dependencies for this. I mean, let's say if this A component is depends on B, and B is depends on C. Okay, and B is also depends on C. Then for A, this was the direct component, direct dependency. For A, B was the direct dependency, and for B, D was the direct dependency, and for A, C was the transitive dependency. Okay, so that will also helps with the help of SBOM. And procurement, that means vendors provide your SBOM for evaluation. Okay, procurement will make it easy with the help of SBOM inventory. Okay, and here a like side by side comparison for SCA versus SBOM. Okay, here it is SCA, here it is SBOM, and here it is the like aspect, we can say, like what exactly the I mean what is the nature, scope, or what is the output, or what exactly the aspect, okay, or else a task, we can say. Okay, and how that will be going to work in SCA and how that will be going to work in SBOM, that is going to see. Okay, here first one, type. Okay, the SCA, the type of the SCA was here the scanning tool, and here it is a static document. Okay, like how exactly it was. And the nature, it is a dynamic and active in nature. We can say it is a like document aspect. Okay, here whatever left side you are seeing, like document, or how you are generating or storing a kind of associated information. Okay, and if you see the nature of the SCA, it is a dynamic and active. That means which we are going to perform frequently, and like each and every release, or else each and every pull request, whenever the build triggers, at the time we need to run the SCA. Okay, and it was a static and passive inventory. We need to make sure to maintain that inventory. And scope, it is focuses on open source components. Okay, primarily, as we discussed earlier, it focuses on open source, but in SBOM we need to make sure to focus on open source as well as proprietary, that means in-house components. Why? Because SBOM is a like complete inventory details, like what exactly the software application uses, that may be in-house or third party, everything. Okay, and function, SBOM, I mean SCA will detect risks and vulnerabilities, and coming to the SBOM, it is like an inventory and document. Okay, it want to provide vulnerability information based upon the SCA generated reports. We are going to use these reports as an input to the SBOM. Okay, so that is how it works. And execution, SCA is a continuous scanning process, as a CI/CD like integration we need to do, and it is also a continuous like a periodic generation, we can say, and it is not obviously a one time. Let's say if we are only finalizing only one SBOM inventory, and in that case it is a one time activity. Okay, otherwise it is a periodic activity, or else continuous continuous inventory maintenance, we can say. Let's say multiple deployments is happening, okay, for the same application, then obviously let's say if there is a some 6 months gap for one deployment to the another deployment, in that 6 months the client obviously needs the SBOM inventory, whatever the application version which is in production, right? So in that case we need to maintain continuous scanning for SBOM also. And the frequency here, it is real-time monitoring. Let's say if a new vulnerability was found out in any of the component, we need to make sure to up to date, we need to correlate with the NVD database or else any vulnerability database and highlight by using the SCA. And it is also updated intervals or on demand, or else it is also like the same as this up to date. And here the vulnerability detection obviously is, it will help to detect the vulnerabilities, and obviously in SBOM we are not able to detect the vulnerabilities, and it only lists the known issues only, and this data will be used here as a CVE like VEX information. Known vulnerability exploitability information. And license and the complaints, it will like check the license and provide say alerts, and obviously it is a like it need to be manual input for this. And coming to the remediation, it will suggest a fixes and recommended updates to the vulnerable components, and it won't be provided a remediation guidance. We need to use this as a input for this. And what is the output? It reports and alerts as the output, and here the output will be SPDX and CycloneDX standard formats. And monitoring, here it is a continuous monitoring, and here it is not a obviously continuous monitoring. Once we got a final like SCA reports, based upon that we are going to pass to the SBOM for let's say if we wanted to manually maintain a SBOM comprehensive tracker, then in that case we need to once the vulnerabilities was fixed after finding in the initial SCA scan, later we need to perform a rescan. Let's say if there is no vulnerabilities, then this need to be passed here, and then here it is a one-time activity in SBOM. And then it is SCA is best for risk management, and SBOM is best for supply chain transparency. That means it will help to find each and every component to track okay entire supply chain. And here SCA, it is like a risk management, primarily focusing on vulnerability and remediation. Okay, and here You can see here it is a non-technical example, how exactly the SCA and SBOM differs. SCA is like a CT scan, and SBOM is like a X-ray scan. X-ray is basically shows the how exactly the component. We can see only the bones, okay. But SCA is not like that. We can see it will reveal, let's say, if any you are suffering with any disease or something, okay, or else any surgery needs to be done. In that case, they need to perform the CT scan. Then you will get to know, like, it's a kind of a 3D scan of your body, okay. And SCA, SBOM is like a 2D scan, okay. It provides a 2D scan, and so it will shows the composition details only, and it is a 3D scan, okay, along with the vulnerabilities, like is there any damages or something need to be fixed, that need to be identified in the SCA scan, okay. And moving further, where we will be discussing with understanding both the SCA and SBOM, why these both are important with one of the small example, okay. Here in this example, we are taking one e-commerce application, which we are divided this into 3 phases. Phase 1 was development phase, and phase 2 was pre-deployment, we can say, like before release, and phase 3 was post-deployment, okay. And here, like in each and every phase, where exactly the SCA is coming, where exactly the SBOM is coming, let's discuss about this, okay. So here, if you see in the first phase or part 1, we can say we are going to use a SCA in the development phase, okay. While during the development, let's say developer adds a PHP mailer with this version into the application, okay. This component is using by the developer in his code, okay. So here we are going to perform the SCA scan. Obviously the SCA tool will scans the code base, and then it will alerts that particular component with that version is found a vulnerability. It will alert to the developer, okay. And then it will also suggest a recommendation upgrade to this version, okay. Earlier 6.4.1, upgrade to this 6.9.0, which is there is no known vulnerabilities in this particular version, okay. So then obviously developer updates the component to the target version, and it will test, okay. Here what is the outcome? Here the vulnerability is caught in the early stages and fixes during the development phase itself. That means we are achieving the major part, which is shifting the security to the left. That means shifting the security to the development phase itself. So that will be achieved here. And then moving to the next a second phase, where we are creating a SBOM. That means before release, we are going to generate a SBOM. Here, before shipping the code into a production, we are going to generate a SBOM. In that particular like SBOM document, we are going to mention the latest version. Obviously we are not going to mention the old version, which is already fixed by the developer, and the associated components, like along with the fixed component there might be another components which don't have a vulnerabilities. That is the reason in the first phase it was not identified. So in the second phase we are going with a SBOM inventory. So all this information, like whatever the components is there, all those information will be included in the SBOM document. Then the compliance team will review this particular SBOM inventory, and it will verify all the licenses are acceptable, or is there any license blockage part, and then it will confirm there is no restricted supplier or license is need to be used. Then the customer reviews the SBOM with a delivery. What here we are doing at the time of delivery, before the delivery we are preparing the SBOM, okay. Why? Because at the time of delivery we are delivering the code, application software along with the SBOM. So that is the reason here the output will be a full transparency of supply chain security and regulatory compliance. All the SBOM inventory as per the 13, we can say 21 data fields, all the associated components like data and metadata will be provided here, okay. So that is exactly the part 2. And coming to the part 3, where what exactly will be going to happen in the production, okay, or else post deployment, okay. After the deployment, during the production runtime, let's say if there is something new vulnerability was discovered in this version, okay. At the time of pre-release there is no vulnerability or else known like CVE ID. Let's say during the production time, if there is any new vulnerability was introduced, so obviously the SCA tool will alert. So why? Because we set up the SCA tool in the CI/CD like automation process. So in that case SCA tool will alerts your system are affected. Then the operations team will check the SBOM from the like deployment, and they will quickly identify the whatever the component DOM PDF used only in the image processing module. So we can fix that, and they can provide a like a timeline or something they can prioritize based upon the risk rating. Also we can be patched in the next release like that, and the incident response plan will be executed accordingly, how exactly and when exactly that need to be fixed. And here the outcome will be there is a faster incident response by using a SBOM and continuous SCA monitoring, okay. So this is exactly it is helpful in the real time, okay. Here what exactly it was doing, they are going to check the SBOM Okay, obviously before the production moving, they are going to get a SBOM inventory. So once the CVE, new vulnerability was identified in this particular component, they cross-checked where exactly in the SBOM it will give a package URL and where exactly the path, everything. Okay, so there they will get to know that particular version where exactly it was used. So based upon that, they are going to like decide the plan accordingly to fix that vulnerability. Okay, so that is exactly how the both the SCA and SBOM work together. Okay, here the complete inventory. This is a small relationship of the complete inventory where we have seen the three phases, like whatever the above we have seen. That is the same thing. Small explanation. Okay, deployment phase, pre-release phase, phase, and production phase. Here the SCA will come into picture where continuous monitoring of the application code, and it will detects the vulnerabilities in the development phase itself, and then developer fixes that. Then in the pre-release phase, the SBOM will come into picture. The SBOM will be generated, and a static it's like a static snapshot, and it will document all the component details whatever needed. And in the production phase, the SCA it is like a continuous monitoring in the development also there, in the production also there, everywhere. Okay, and here it is SBOM will works as a reference in the production phase. Okay, so it will quickly identifies where exactly what exactly happened, and it will helps to quicker response. Okay, and as a best practice here, we can use a continuous vulnerability management as well as SBOM for supply chain transparency and compliance. Okay, one more time, SCA. We need to use a SCA for continuous vulnerability management. Okay, continuous vulnerability management part, and SBOM for supply chain transparency and compliance. So this is how exactly they work together. And as a like closer points, I just kind of recap of what exactly the SCA, when to use SCA and when to use SBOM. Coming to the SCA, during the development, CI/CD integration need to be done, and that need to be used there, and continuous monitoring post the deployment also. Okay, like post the while in the production also. Vulnerability remediation planning by using like continuous monitoring, we can achieve this. License complaints and active checking will be done, and malware detection and malware detection in the any dependencies or components. And coming to the SBOM, when to use SBOM, software procurement evaluation. It will helps basically. Okay, so it will comply with the regulatory compliance that we can provide that document, and helps to quicker incident response, rapid identification, and supply chain risk assessment will be achieved by using the SBOM inventory. And if there is any third party vendor review need to be done for that supply chain, then we can provide the SBOM inventory. And the customer, there will be a customer transparency requirements. Okay, so these are the things will be achieved with the help of SCA and SBOM by combining those two. Okay, and I think so, like whatever the points we have discussed and covered in this lecture is helpful, and your time got used properly, I think so. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you have any like feedback or any like dedicated point or video need to be done separately, I will ready to take the topic and do a video on that. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos. Once again, thank you.